Hello everyone, my name is MJ Vilches, and right now I will be sharing to you how I got my very own Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet. Are you ready? Let's do this! So yeah, the main goal of the whole thing for me was to try out Blender's object tracking capabilities, or to try out object tracking in general. It's also my goal to finish the project within 1 to 2 weeks. And yeah, that has always been my rule when making a very amateur videos. So yeah, with those set as my goals, I started working on it. First, I did some tests. I watched a tutorial done by Bracer Jack on object tracking, and armed with my knowledge in camera tracking, I immediately learned how to do it. You can watch Bracer Jack's tutorial in object tracking and my tutorial in camera tracking through the links in the description below. Anyways, the test that I did with the object tracking gave promising results. And yeah, my mind immediately went crazy after doing a successful track. So, after the test, I started coming up with ideas on how to apply it to an AVAV video. And my mind settled to having my very own Iron Man arm. I was gonna use this Iron Man model by Bruno Icari that I got from BlendSwap, but I didn't like how the arms look, so I decided to model one from scratch myself. And instead of settling for just an Iron Man arm, I decided to go for an Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet. You can watch a series of time-lapse videos of the Gauntlet's creation process through the card or the links below. Anyways, after preparing the Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet, I started recording some footage. And yeah, the results of my tests on object tracking made me come up with this. Using an old sock and a double-sided tape, I made this wristband thing to track my arm. And yeah, it works really well. But it only tracks my arm. And yeah, I was gonna try and track my hand and my fingers as well, but I figured it would be easier to just animate them manually later on. Anyways, after taking some footage, I went on and tracked my arm in Blender. And yeah, for this one, I decided to track it using Blender 2.80. So yeah, despite using a different version of Blender, the same ideas or principles in tracking still applies. But yeah, if you watched the tutorials mentioned before about tracking in Blender, you should get the gist of how it's done for both object and camera. So yeah, I won't be talking much about tracking here. Anyways, in tracking my arm in this footage, I made sure to use only one track per tracking marker on my arm. Meaning that even if the track marker goes behind my arm or off frame, I should keep on tracking it with the same track point when it goes back in frame, instead of using a new track point. Now, I'm not sure if it really affects the solving of the motion, but since it gave me successful results during testing, I just decided to do it this way for the final one. So yeah, I tracked all the markers I can on my arm. I also set the right settings for the camera, and then I solved the object motion, which returned minimal solve error. I then applied the motion to a cylinder, and just like what Bracer Jack said in his tutorial, I had to move the cylinder around to match the orientation of my arm. After setting up all that, I just had to append the gauntlet model and match its orientation with my arm and then parented it to the cylinder. I also made sure that the location of the gauntlet is the same with the cylinder so that it won't slide off the camera or cause weird motion. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The gauntlet now follows my arm movement. After that, I animated the hand and fingers using the live footage as reference, then moved on to the next step. So yeah, tracking my arm and applying the movement to the CG gauntlet and even animating it turned out to be easier than compositing it into a live footage. This shot may be easier though. I mean, I still had to do a lot of stuff. Just, track the camera, set up the light, model the quick CG version of the table, applying the live footage as a texture, and then I just had to do some tweaking on the color, and that's it. That's done for this shot. But yeah, on this next shot, I had to do more. So yeah, due to the nature of how this was shot, painting out my arm on this footage would be too tedious to take on, and based on experience, it might actually prolong my work on this AVAV, which I decided to just work on for 1 to 2 weeks. So yeah, what I did to prevent myself from painstakingly painting out my arm, I just decided to take several frames from the footage without my arm and then blended them all together in GIMP. And yeah, I then use the resulting image as a texture for a plane, and then I used that plane as a background. I also tracked the background on the live footage and then applied the movement on the plane. So yeah, basically this shot is kinda all CG, and I think it works. Tell me in the comments below if you noticed it or not. Anyways, I also made this quick and messy sphere panorama of the area where I shot the footage to use it as an environment texture. Yeah, I was gonna use Google Street View to do this, but the area where I shot the footage is a small space, which kinda not making Google Street View work. And yeah, there's something wrong with my phone's gyro. So yeah, I can't really use Google Street View efficiently because of that. So yeah, I settled with taking panorama pictures with my Sony a6300. And yeah, using an HDRI that I got from HDRI Haven as a template, I blended the panorama pictures that I took together in GIMP. I also did this kind of method in creating an environment texture for the previous shot. So yeah, I just have to adjust the orientation of the environment texture in Blender and also tweak the strength so that the CG gauntlet is lit precisely like the footage. After that, I saved a different blend file to get a light pass for when the repulsor and the infinity stones light up. And yeah, I did it on a separate file so I can enable bloom, because the bloom effect in Blender 2.80 is really awesome. Yeah, I rendered that light pass and then I composited them all together within Blender 2.80. Just tweaking the color of the CG gauntlet enough to make it believable. So yeah, realism is not exactly my aim, because I'm pretty sure I cannot go for that yet. But yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with the results. Just tell me in the comments below what you think. Anyways, after completing each VFX shot, it's time to edit them together. I used Kdenlive to edit the footage together and also add some sounds. So yeah, for the repulsor sound, I used this built-in plugin in LMMS called LB302. I just automated the pitch to get that memeable Iron Man sound. And lastly, for the sound of the entire gauntlet, I actually just did it in a janky way, just taking some stuff from my dump here and recording some sound using my microphone, so that it kind of just give an illusion of this small metal thing in your arm that you're moving around. So yeah, there you have it. That's how I got my very own Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet, with zero budget, using only free and open source software. So yeah, what do you think? Is it awesome? Is it good? Just, you know, share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, what visual effects should I try next? Just leave your suggestions in the comments below too. And yeah, once again, my name is MJ Vilches, and yeah, it's time for me to go back to my boat and continue the journey to awesomeness.